Anyone? Okay, thank you, honorable member. My remarks. Welcome address. 2024 budget reviews and defense of the 2025 budget proposal of the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency. Honorable colleagues, the chairman, NDLEA, General Buba Marwa retire, and his team, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to welcome you to this crucial budget review and defense section, where we will assess the performance of NDLEA 2024 budget and consider the proposed financial plan for 2025. In the 2024 fiscal year, total allocation to the NDLEA amounted to 50 billion, comprising 25 billion for personal costs, 2 billion for overhead expenses, and 21 billion for capital projects. This allocation has supported the agency's ongoing efforts in combating drugs abuse and trafficking nationwide. Today, the agency is presenting a proposed budget of over 67 billion for the 2025 fiscal year. This represents a significant increase of over 17 billion from the previous year, reflecting the growing demand on the agency operations. The proposed breakdown includes 47 billion for personal costs, an increase aimed at expanding the workforce to meet the rising challenge in the drugs law enforcement, 3 billion for overhead expenses, reflecting a moderate increase to cover operation, logistic, and administrative needs, 16 billion for capital projects, which is, although lower than the previous years, emphasize the need for investment in equipment, infrastructure, and rehabilitation center, critical for effective service delivery. This committee recognizes that the critical role of NDLEA play in safeguarding our community from the surges of narcotic and illicit substances. As we engage in today's deliberation, we remain committed to ensure that public funds are allocated efficiently, with a focus on measurable outcome, transparency, and accountability. I urge all the participants to contribute thoroughly as we work together to ensure the NDLEA is well-resourced to fulfill its vital mandate in the coming years. Thank you for the dedication to this national cause. Thank you. Now, Mr. Chairman, we would like you to present your defense, but before then, I know you have a message that you want to read for us, and after that, we can now go ahead and present the 2024 proposed. 20.
Honorable Abbas Adigu, the Deputy Chairman in absentia, members of this esteemed committee, the clerk, my colleagues, press, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the management and staff of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, I wish to begin by wishing the esteemed chairman, deputy chairman, and all members of this committee a happy, blessed, and fulfilling 2025. I wish to thank you for scheduling this defense today, 13 January 2025, as this will allow me to fly out tonight for my second eye surgery. And talking on surgery, I've been wearing glasses for 40 years, thinking that everything is normal, until sometime in September, I got news that one of my closest friends and colleagues had gone almost blind. And I was shocked. I said, but everything appeared to be okay. So I determined that my next trip out, I'll check my eyes. And by the time the doctors checked, They told me I have to do surgery on the two eyes within 60 days, within 2 months. I've done one, and by 15th, I have to do the second one. And I would like to advise, if you have not checked your eyes, just check it to see if everything is all right, because the sight is a very fundamental aspect in our lives. I wish to also seize this opportunity to appreciate you for your consistent support throughout the 2024 fiscal year. This committee, under its able and dynamic chairman, has demonstrated remarkable courage and commitment towards the war against drug abuse in all its ramifications. In particular, your effort towards the amendment of the NDLEA Act is also highly appreciated. Despite all odds, you made the amendment to pass smoothly. We are just waiting now for it to move out of NAS to the presidency for final assent. Today, I would briefly say a word or two on the budget performance of 2023 appropriation, which your letter asked us to mention. So we will go straight to the implementation and performance of the 2024 budget appropriation for the year ended 31st December 2024, and then proceed thereafter to the 2025 budget proposal for your kind consideration. Performance and implementation of 2024 appropriation. The 2024 appropriation budget was also fully released and utilized as follows: personnel costs 25.745, overhead costs 2.330 billion, so these are billions, and capital expenditure 21.949 billion, for a total of 50 billion, which earlier the esteemed chairman had announced. The budget performance of the 2024 appropriation review, covering personnel costs, overhead costs, and capital expenditure, is as follows. Personnel cost. The personnel costs appropriated for the year under review was 25,745,335,663 naira only. The total sum was released and payments made as and when due on the platform of the IPPRS, domiciled in the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. And it only represents staff salaries in the agency's nominal role. Let me also mention here that during the year under review, the agency commenced the payment of the 5,000 additional personnel recruited in the year 2023. Worthy of note is that the salary appropriated for year 2024 fell short in October 2024 as a result of some increments in salary, that is, the peculiar allowance and minimum wage, which consequently necessitated payments of the November and December salaries by the Ministry of Finance through the Accountant General of the Federation.
Excuse me, sir. I remember on your submission, go to April. That's the performance of 2024. Yeah, but on the
B1. No, but where is this one? No, but now in the Kabas one. Yes. And the easiest way to follow is that there is the appendices where we wrote CCEO speech / appendices. That will be the easiest to follow my Yes. They are looking at this. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to, I think I'm the one that need to confuse you because
Okay.
I believe that 2024 has not been released that much, so there's nothing for you to show us for 2024. So we should go to 2023 that 100% was released for 2023. So we go to 2023. No, because I think that, okay, my question is, what's the percentage?
I will come to that, but it's 100%. And I will explain it, yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yes. But the best document to follow my speech is the one with the yellow sticker on it that says CCEO speech appendices. And we should go to Appendix B on it, B for Bravo. The sum of 2,333,063,609 naira only was appropriated to facilitate the sustenance of the agency's day-to-day operational activities in all formations nationwide for effective narcotic drug control. Please see Annex Appendix B. The total sum mentioned above was released and utilized 100%. This has greatly impacted on the achievement of the agency last year, and I will show this later. Capital expenditure. Shall I continue? Okay. Capital appropriation to the agency in the 2024 fiscal year was 21,949,844,243 naira only. This is in Appendix C. Appendix C. It is worth noting that the agency's capital budget allocation was only just recently released 100% in the month of December 2024. Hence, the delay in implementation of the 2024 Appropriation Act. However, the implementation is fully in process. Awards have been made, and all projects are currently at various stages of due process, either with the Bureau of Public Procurement or Ministerial Tenders Board or FEC. Internally generated revenue for the period ended December 2024. The agency, by its act, is not established to generate revenue, but in the course of its operational activities, it makes seizures and generates revenue for the government through proceeds of crime and some other fees. Except for ongoing assets forfeiture cases, therefore, all the amount realized during the period under review has been fully paid into the federal government consolidated revenue account with the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the IGR for year 2023 and 2024 is hereby presented in Appendix D for Delta. You can see the serial 1 forfeited funds poker, proceeds of crime, all the forfeitures and so on. The visa fees, loss of ID cards, refund of salaries, tender fees, and sales of government properties. These are all from forfeitures. And so, whereas in 2023, we were able to generate and pay to the federal government 269.9 million, last year we actually paid 446,359,002 naira 58 kobo. NDLEA achievement in the year 2024. The agency in the year 2024 has recorded numerous achievements in areas of law enforcement, that is, arrests, seizures, convictions, sensitization programs, and international awards. These are briefly discussed subsequently. Arrests and seizures. In line with Mr. President's renewed hope agenda to reposition the NDLEA and with the support of the National Assembly, the agency has once again made history by recording tremendous arrests and seizures within the year under review. The summary of arrests and seizures from January to December 2024 is captured in Appendix E, E for Echo. And in it, we have listed the arrests, seizures, convictions, those cancelled and rehabilitated, cannabis farms destroyed, and the seizures, the worth of the seizures that have been destroyed. It is clearly spelled out there. Now, sensitization programs. Drug abuse continues to be a pressing global health issue that affects individuals, families, and communities. Indeed, at the recent commissioning of the Central Exhibit Office donated by the US government last week, the United States Consul General said that synthetic opioids was a leading cause of death in the US, especially for ages 18 to 49, and that in 2024 alone, 107,504 lost their lives in America due to drug overdose. It is to this effect that the NDLEA, in keeping to our responsibility of sensitizing the general public on the dangers inherent in drug abuse and illicit trafficking in Nigeria, we use our Drug Demand Reduction Directorate and the state commands to extensively carry out anti-drug use education programs for different key populations such as schools, workplaces, armed forces paramilitary, religious-based, community-based, media, motor parks, markets. We've launched war against drug abuse clubs in schools and so on, internal displaced people's camps, and indeed repentant Boko Haram, also insurgents. So the activities carried out in year 2024 are contained in Appendix F, F for Foxtrot. And in it, you will see that we have done programs in primary and secondary schools last year, over 1,500 programs. Youth out of school, 492, community-based, workplace, worship-based, that's in the churches and the mosques, and the media, military, paramilitary. We go around the barracks and the formations also. We do advocacy visits, which I personally lead in some of the cases. We have special programs, the MTN and debates and so on. We've done 199 tertiary institutions, collaboration with NGO, women programs, training programs. We have trained the Nigerian Governors Spouses Forum. We've trained local government chairmen, secondary school teachers. We've done our own training and so on. So this gives an idea of the efforts that we do permanently every week. All our commands have the responsibility for sensitization country-wide. In terms of international awards, a staff of our agency, Assistant Commander of Narcotics Francis M. Igono, won the prestigious International Law Enforcement Academy Outstanding Operational Success Award in May 2024, emerging the best, and he was given a special promotion for that. With your kind permission, I would now proceed with the budget proposal for 2025.
Thank you, General. I think before we move to 2025, we have to adopt 2024. So, and these are member.
24 capital, and I did not say so anywhere. But we have received 100% the capital, and that was in December. It's actually impossible to receive it in December, but it is possible that the esteemed member may have heard me say that all the processes for the awards have been completed. That's actually what I said, which means that the various items on this project, including the barracks, are either at the BPP stage or those that have passed awaiting MTB or FEC, and a few have actually been approved. That's why you will find that the construction of NDLEA barracks nationwide, and this has been the way it is presented from 2022 when it was first introduced, this subhead. You will find that what we have spent out of the 10 billion for the barracks is actually just 1 billion. So the rest of the processes are, it could be in the BPP or awaiting FEC, depending on what the item is. That said, you'll find all the others, there's no award, no expenditure. It's just that they have released the amount finally after a lot of effort, and we must appreciate the Honorable Minister of Finance who finally released it. Now, you asked the question about the barracks. I will talk about it later in 2025, but specifically to respond to you, we made the case in 2022 to the former president that we are the only paramilitary organization that does not have barracks, 35 years after our creation. And we will not say that there is any other agency that is deserving of barracks more than us, because you look at the vigorous manner we've been pursuing our mandate, the arrests, the seizures, the convictions. We convicted over 3,000 last year, and yet we are living inside the same townships and environments. So these people go after us. They go after us, murder our families, set fire to our homes, and so on and so forth. So in 2022, the president then succumbed. And I'm happy to say President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also continued. Unfortunately, even though we have 37 state commands, and therefore we need 37 barracks, we have not yet even achieved 6, because the funding, in 2022, the funding was 300 billion, which was to have been spread over a planned period of 4 years. We never got it. And now that 300 billion may well have doubled. So that's, I think, a very brief answer to the question. And now, the issue of the Director of Finance, I'm sure the esteemed member meant to ask me rather than him about how long he's going to stay. But he was made acting just last year by virtue of his rank. He is fully qualified in terms, he's a fellow, FCA, and so on, but his rank is still short of the recruitment approval letter from the presidency was specific that it is to be funded on demand from service-wide votes, not through the appropriation process. So we've succeeded with 10,000, and we are looking forward with great eagerness for approval this year for the balance. And definitely, we quite appreciate the need for recruitment, for jobs in Nigeria, not to mention the Honorable esteemed members of the House Narcotic, Drugs and Narcotics Committee, we will definitely, I want to take the opportunity to give assurances that we will bear this in mind when the time comes.
Thank you.
The seizures, we will send the specific breakdowns as requested for this quantity. In terms of the rehabilitation, we have, as part of our work in rehabilitation, aftercare services. So we follow through, and often we've actually had parents who have come back to me directly to express happiness and satisfaction about the work that our rehab centers are doing. At least one parent last year came to me and promised to build a rehab center for the agency in the FCT. So that is a very welcome development. Now, the farms are mostly in the southwest. And I think cannabis is probably the main reason why the drug use prevalence in the 6 geopolitical zones is highest in the southwest, with 22.4% prevalence. But that has not stopped some of these growers from growing, even in Taraba, Adamawa, Kano, Jigawa. We go after them wherever they are, destroy the farms, make the necessary arrests and convictions. Now, the 3,412 persons have been convicted. So some are serving jail sentences, others were given the option of fine, and we have those who are given option of fine and have paid and walked away, rearrested within months with drugs again. This is one of the reasons why we welcome the amendment, because it removes that option of fine. Thank you.
Is it worth it? What's the success rate?
The rehabilitation centers, they are doing extremely well, except that there is a need for more rehabilitation centers. And one of the issues I'm going to present to this honorable committee is the need for world-class centers of rehabilitation, at least one per geopolitical zone. Centers with 500 or higher beds, full institutions, because this is a big, big, big problem in front of us. And there's a need for more rehab facilities. Right now, we have 30 commands, 30 states have our rehab centers. And this year, we plan that the balance that don't have will each have. But that said, we still need world-class model. The model rehabs in Nigeria, there are only 11 under the Federal Ministry of Health. But they are doing a splendid job. The public has full confidence in the NDLEA rehab because we don't play, we don't joke, we face the task. Some of those, there are rehab centers in this Abuja where you pay 2 million per month to be treated. And yet, they come back to us, our 100,000 or 70,000 centers a month, and they get better. So we really are very proud of the work of our own centers.
Okay, that sounds really beautiful. But if you can tell me, this money was expended, how many people we have rehabilitated, and how many are successfully off drugs today? That's what's going to really tell us if it's successful or not.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that is something we can never be able to say, because when you are treated for drugs, first, before you go for treatment, there are some factors that led you to it. Let's take a typical case of a woman who is one of 4 wives, just an example. And because of the contending issues of polygamy, she reverses to drugs and goes for treatment, and she's treated, and she's well. But she goes back to the same environment. Or you have someone who is jobless. There's no work, there's no food guaranteed, and so on. You treat him, but he goes back to the same environment. So this is one of the things that make us happy with the renewed hope agenda of the president, because it faces the creation of jobs. That will go a long way.
Proposal.
Thank you very much. In the 2025 budget,
General,
yeah.
Can you now propose for because I'm looking here, I want to see how you can, Yeah. Okay, can you tell us the proposal page of 2025? What page? So remember
Appendix G.
You can appendix, okay.
G for golf.
All right, you can go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So the NDLEA budget proposal for 2025. In the 2025 budget presentation, G for golf. Okay. Thank you. In the 2025 budget presentation by Mr. President to the National Assembly, the agency was allocated a total sum of 67,512,564,063 naira 80 kobo only, being the total budget proposal for this year, 2025 fiscal year, which is in Appendix G. The current personnel cost is 47.159 billion. The current overhead is 3.384 billion, which is an improvement over last year, which the Honorable Chairman himself had alluded to. And then the capital expenditure is 16.968 billion, which is a drastic fall from the capital of 2024. The total proposal is 67.5 billion. Now, the recurrent personnel cost. The recurrent personnel cost reflects the nominal role of staff of the agency. All ranks total 14,038 officers, men and women. 14,038 officers, men and women. This comprises 8,791 officers and other ranks, 5,247. Now, following the personnel cost call circular released in June 2024, the personnel cost for year 2025 budget proposal was computed on the GIFMIS platform and sums up to 47,159,240,496 naira 80 kobo. This is nearly twice the previous personnel cost of 2024. It is pertinent to note that the personnel cost was computed before the minimum wage approval, which implies that there will be an upward review in the salary structure by the Budget Office of the Federation. The breakdown of this personnel cost is on Appendix H for hotel. Appendix H. The salary itself, as you can see, is 31 billion. The regular allowances, 11.5 billion. NHIS, 1.550 billion. And the pension contribution, 3 billion, making the total 47.159 billion. The recurrent overhead costs. For effective and efficient administration and enforcement of our mandates the current overhead cost is germane. When we enforce the law on drugs through arrests, seizures, prosecution, confiscation of assets, and drug demand reduction activities, we reduce criminalities throughout the country because we know that there is a nexus between drug use and criminalities. It is therefore necessary to have a robust recurrent overhead cost for the agency if the war against insecurity in the country is to succeed, and enabling environment created for business to thrive. So the sum of 3,384,332,017 naira only is hereby proposed to this esteemed committee, and there's even no money to pay the rent. And so you are sitting in your command office or area command office, and the landlord comes looking for his money and goes to court and so on. These type of things we don't want. That's why we are pushing for this barrack matter. The NDLEA command structure spans national, zonal, state, and area levels, and each formation struggles with insufficient operational facilities, highlighting the urgent need for more equipment, more tools, and more assets, because our work is intelligence propelled. Proper accommodation will enhance staff morale, ensure security, and strengthen the agency's capacity to execute its mandates. This initiative underscores NDLEA's commitment to combating drug abuse and trafficking while safeguarding its personnel and their families from attacks by drug barons and their cohorts. So as I said earlier, the former administration graciously approved construction of barracks for the agency in year 2022. But since that first attempt, the barrack project has steadily declined until this year, when we have zero, no allocation for barracks. And so we are appealing to this honorable committee to please consider two key things. Even if nothing is done, two things. One, barracks, to introduce the barracks back in order to curb the attacks faced by our personnel from drug barons, and two, for each geopolitical zone to have a standard model rehab center. The funds released for the barracks projects in the last 3 to 4 years are as follows. In 2022, we had 23 billion. In 2023, it came down to 13. In 2024, despite with all the efforts, it came down to 10. And 2025, a big capital zero.
Why?
We did all our best. I personally did all that I could. We got the promises, but at the end of the day, zero. So we have to bring that back to this esteemed committee to put in their own efforts. So the capital budget, which I wish to submit, is 16,968,991,550 naira only, which is hereby presented to this honorable committee for consideration as the year 2025 capital expenditure. This is shown in Appendix J, Juliet. You will see the amount 16.9, and that is clearly 5 billion naira less than 2024 capital. Conclusion. In conclusion, I wish to first of all appreciate the Honorable Chairman, the Deputy Chairman, and distinguished members of this esteemed committee for your invaluable support to the agency. And I respectfully appeal to your good offices to continue to assist in our area of critical needs during the appropriation process. Our commands across the Federation are contending with significant challenges, particularly lack of accommodation. I cannot oversay this matter because it all comes to my desk when you get these reports of assassins and so on and so forth, killing personnel and their families. So we know that we trust that this esteemed committee will do its best. And we know that there are compelling demands from other MDAs, but the barracks project is critical to the operational efficiency and success of NDLEA. I must not forget to seize this opportunity to also appreciate the President for his continuing support and encouragement to the agency. I also wish to reaffirm the agency's unwavering commitment to working collaboratively with the National Assembly, in particular, this esteemed committee, to advance our shared vision of a drug-free Nigeria. With your support, we are confident in our ability to enhance our operations and fulfill our mandate of safeguarding the security of our nation. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
So this is beyond the global average of 5.6 as per 2016 survey. Can you accept the fact that the NDLEA, as it is inadequate to confront the fight against drug abuse the way it is supposed to? Currently, the National Assembly is considering a bill that's at the Constitution Review Committee with regards to moving the item drug and poison from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent legislative list to enable the state houses of assemblies to participate in making laws for the fight against drug abuse. By so doing, the subnationals can be able to establish agencies that can complement the NDLEA from the center in the fight against drug abuse. Will you welcome such a constitutional amendment that can see to the having complementary agencies at the subnationals with regards to the mandate that the agency is having? I don't know what is your take on this. The other question, Mr. Chairman, I'll reserve it until the committee resolves into.
For arms and ammunition, it's not 1.4 billion. I think the Honorable Minister had a slip of the tongue when he was mentioning. Where will we take 1.4 billion? I think it's 1.4 million dollars at the time. Now, regarding cross-border smuggling, first of all, I must draw attention to the fact that the NDLEA works closely with the Drug Enforcement Administration of the US, the National Crime Agency of the UK, the UK Border Force, the French government, the German government, the Spanish government, the Italians. I've just received the police attaché early last week. So there's an international collaboration as far as it is concerned, and most of the collaboration focuses on the border areas, the seaports, the airports, and the land borders. Now, back to the question, we do have a Marine Command, which was created under my tenure. Only last week, I was with NIMASA in pursuance of collaboration to seal and safeguard the maritime borders. We work closely with the Navy. The NDLEA now, we have our own boats. We have our own divers trained in Brazil. We are, and I'm sure this is like music to the ears of the honorable chairman who was in the Navy. So we are working closely. The British actually gave us a boat and built the Marine Command headquarters, which we commissioned just a couple of months ago in Atlantic City in Lagos. This budget, we are planning another 7. So the ambulances, we want at least to have 1 ambulance per command, per clinic to assist. So that's as far as that is concerned. Now, the question was raised about the drug, the seizures of the money. I had 2 honorable members here who are representing constituencies in Lagos. My commissioner for environment then, Architect Kekere Ukwu, we put a lot of money in environment at the time because of, Lagos floods and all this type of thing. And so one day in council, I asked him the question, Kekere Ukwu, where's all the money we voted for environment? He said, down the drains. And so, again, if you ask where all the money from the seizures, I would say up in flames. Because most, we burn it. We get orders from the court, like the cocaines, methamphetamines, cannabis, and so on, and we destroy it. However, we've just signed an MOU about 2 or 3 months ago with NAFDAC for greater collaboration. And one of the things we are considering is for some of the seizures, like ephedrine, which is used for methamphetamine, Nkurumiri production. Now, we would want to have more exchange with them, hand it over to them, and then they can see if some of it can be redeemed for good. And if they condemn it, then of course it is destroyed. So for the most part, these monies are actually destroyed. We don't use it for the drugs. But the other aspect, like the seizures of money in the accounts, and the assets, vehicles, houses, hotels, like the hotel we just sealed in Ilorin last week, the investigation is ongoing. And once we determine that the owner himself has a hand in it, we will move for the forfeiture of that. So all those are funds that we return to the government. Now the drug use survey of 2018 that gave 14.3% use in Nigeria, which is 3 times the global average, was actually not from the Bureau of Statistics, but it's a UN survey. But the Bureau of Statistics was part of it. And all efforts are being made towards, first, denying access to drugs through our efforts in seizing the drugs, seizures, and of course the other aspects of drug demand reduction through treatment and care and through advocacies. There is a structure already from the national, which I chair, the Interministerial Committee Against Drugs, that all government agencies are part of, all. The presidency is in it, the NSA's office is in it, SGF is in it, the MDAs are in it. That is the overarching body. And it percolates down to the state drug control committees, which are under the governors. So already the system involves everyone. And beyond that, it goes to local government, to the wards, and so on. The danger you have, and that's why internationally, you go to America, is the DEA, one agency. You go elsewhere, is the NCA in Britain. You go to Brazil, the federal police. Because the challenge you have on drugs is if you allow complete control at the state level, a governor might one day wake and legalize something which may not be in our interests. So this is an area that I want the greatest attention to be made. There is need for unity in diversity. So I had just mentioned in my remarks that part of our training was the Nigerian Governor Spouses Forum. We work closely with them. So already states and us are working. And the NDLEA does not pretend to solve all the drug problems in the country alone. It's a whole of society approach. Everyone, there are so many stakeholders, we all put our hands together. But it's very, very important for us to be mindful of allowing division in this critical sense. I know that every honorable member here knows of somebody who is using drugs, not directly, but in your constituency. And I know you are worried. And you need to solve it. Yeah, when I mean no, I mean attention could be brought. Not when you use drugs, it doesn't make anyone a criminal because it's a disease. And that's why when we make the arrests, we determine through our own protocols those who we think are the criminals to be tried and those who should be helped in our rehab centers. And now the issue of international organizations and their funding. The NDLEA receives intervention from international bodies, but not in money. They never give money. Not a dime goes to the money. They just support in training, in equipment sometimes, but not in money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering the question. Like I said, we go to executive section, but before we go, I want to say something to our committee member, to the agency, and to the Nigerians. When I became chairman of this committee, I tried my best to do a little research on my own to actually know what the committee stands for. On the reality, this is our country. We have no other country than Nigeria. And always be my concern when it comes to the drugs use in our society, in America. They have a lot of money to even do so many things like a rehab, like educate awareness, stuff like that. But they are still battling with drugs use in America. There are so many junkies on the road. And I always tell everybody that it's just a matter of time. So last year, we appealed to the federal government about this committee, about this agency. Our future is our youth. That we have to lead this country too. You all agree with us. We all agree that this country today, there is no corner in this country that we don't have a drugs use abuse. And the agency are not that big. I cited the example last time that about the custom. The personnel of a custom, they are much than the personnel of a NDLEA. And the NDLEA are doing much than them because NDLEA have to mount the air, the land, and the sea, even within our nation. Why custom mainly for the sea and the body, stuff like that, and their personnel is not that much. We've been listening to the general since. They are underfunded. Look at their capital. Last year we were complaining. I tried my best with the appropriation to get more capital loan for them, but we can't get it because we do not really pay attention to this agency. We are not serious about these drugs. One way or the other, we see all these people on the road now. They call them colo or something like that. They have done so many. You can see the arrests they made. Even this year alone, like this Alaja, Yake, or whatever. There are plenty. Imagine if they have everything to work with in the military. If they give us equipment, we will go out there to get the job done. That's what we're asking for. So we, committee, I think we appeal to the federal government to do more. They have tried, but they are not tried because 16 billion for capital, for the agency to have their own barracks, have their own equipment, have their own motor. For example, I said that in your state, even they have only 1 or 2, 3 in-laws. So now, when it's time to take all these prisoners, all these criminals to the court, so they have to use all these 2 or 3 in-laws. So what happened on that day on the field? So the bad one among them or whatever can say, oh, the NDLEA are not on the road for checkup today. So, oh yeah, bring your stuff. And that's why we see so many in the north. General said that, which I agree with him, 24.5% in the south are involved in drugs, but majority are using in the north, even especially in Kano. So we have to do more. So we appeal to the federal government, the committee, on behalf of committee. We thank you for what you are doing. And I know that you have a personal relationship with our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We believe that we all love this country, and he loves this country, and we are his children, and generation to come, that he should help us, one way or the other, to fund this agency very well, so they can be able to perform their duty to the highest standard. Being said that, with the approval of the committee member, we will now go for the executive section, and which will take another 30 minutes. It's just some questions that we cannot ask you on the camera that we want to know. Thank you, sir.